welcome to another episode of Silver Goose Farm Stories. I am your host, Mama Goose, aka Maria Silva. I'm currently living in that period of time known as the fourth trimester. Those weeks following birth where this little baby is still discovering that they're a separate entity to me, and where my body still continues to heal and recover from what is both a beautiful blessing but also a pretty traumatic biological process for the two of us. Outwardly, it's been a time fending off the love-bombing sisters and seeking quiet moments to snuggle and breathe in the baby smell and feeling those oxytocin rushes coursing through my blood and overwhelming me with that need to bond and protect and cherish this little one. Recovery, however, has been a longer process than with the other children. My age is catching up to me, and that, plus my ongoing chronic health issues, have really made me slow down, as hard as that is for me to admit. There's been days and weeks, really, of low energy, time that flies by in silence, and I feel crushingly unproductive. Disappointed in myself because I can't measure my quote-unquote productivity by some tangible project progression on the farm. Despite the fact that I understand that this time period is important, it's still really difficult to mentally accept it. I can't measure the vasculature of tissue knitting together inside my body as I'm healing, and the cells of my bloodstream that are replenishing themselves. I can't see the immunoglobulins in my milk adapting to my baby and strengthening him and protecting him from the bombardment of microbes outside of the womb. I can't measure comfort. There's no units for security and calm that I can measure, but all of that which exists to develop this beautiful boy's brain and his person and, ultimately who he hopefully can become in the future. Instead, I'm constantly having to remind myself that my self-worth is not measured in how many of my garden beds are free of weeds, none, and how much of that pile of soil we got in the driveway gets moved into the beds to replenish the soil. Again, none of it. How much irrigation piping gets laid down in the orchard? None again. And, the same answer applies to all of the other projects that I had potentially listed for this summer. With every season of my life, I suffer from the same existential crisis of finding where the value of my life and my personhood lies. I kept trying to work through the summer. I kept trying to go out and work in the heat when I was feeling a little bit more energetic than usual, only to come stumbling back inside, sore and tired and hurt sometimes, and sometimes completely out of commission for a day or two. Taking things slow is hard to do for me, and admitting weakness is even harder, and asking for help even harder still. And really, the only thing that's helping me cope with this kind of downtime or this slower recovery time is to take the snapshots and moments of beauty and gratitude that I have been experiencing and really treasuring them in my heart. The pastoral life is full of beautiful moments, and these moments are worth more than I could have ever foreseen. And that kind of beauty doesn't always appear in the places where I would expect them to, but in the day-to-day moments hidden away between meals and chores and little snippets of conversation. I have to focus and find gratitude and joy and grace even instead of my own lack in all of these things. I'm thankful for the kids that are going out to the garden tunnels and harvesting tomatoes and cucumbers with my husband. They try and clip up the trailing vines and give the bad fruit to the pigs and chickens. I especially enjoy watching my husband chase the guineas out of the garden. He just sort of looms over them and flaps his arms like wings, and they all go scurrying away in a big commotion of squawking and wings and feathers. Even though everything And the beds, the pathways, and all the spaces in between them are overgrown with weeds. I'm amazed that they are still able to find something that grows. The other day my kids were climbing through the old bathtubs that we've turned into garden beds, and they discovered a whole patch of tomatillos that got overgrown. And we saw that some sweet potato vines survived the mysterious sprinkler outage, and our corn is ripe, and we have pumpkins growing. My husband tells me we'll worry about the aesthetics next year, and he's still pretty pleased. And he tells me he's still pretty pleased with how productive the garden has been despite my lack of effort. My big girls never hesitate to go out and water strawberries and herb gardens and the starts in the greenhouse. I've discovered that it's much more enjoyable to laugh at their 30-second sprinkling over the flowers rather than frown at them through the window. We might have lost a few plants, or more than a few plants, over the course of this summer, but I'm grateful for the girls taking on their extra responsibility and doing so happily. My oldest girls have also mastered scrambled eggs and quesadillas and PBJ sandwiches. They're always volunteering to give their younger siblings a snack, or read them a story, or bring me a glass of water, or their papa a glass of water when he's working outside, or when I'm stuck in a chair nursing. They crowd around their little brother, poking his cheeks and plastering him with kisses and waking him up from naps and cooing at him and exclaiming at every sound and expression he makes. I'm grateful that there isn't any jealousy, and they show him so much love. And I have to remind myself on the days when perhaps they're a little less excited to do their chores or a little too rough with their siblings, that they're actually really good, even though sometimes they make me want to tear my hair out. And I'm really appreciative to have such sweet, loving children, despite all of my shortcomings as a parent. My husband put together a daily and weekly house chore list for them at the very beginning of my homecoming with the baby, and everyone's been working hard to make the house tidy. They love doing anything with their papa, and for about 10 minutes a day, our house is pretty acceptably clean. So I've had to remember to forgive myself during this time, even though there's really nothing to forgive. The only person whose expectations I'm failing to meet are my own. And the only expectation that my family has for me is that I'm present for them and love them and continue to do so as best as I can. I swallow back the frustration walking past wild lettuce taller than me because we've got some higher priority things happening on the farm right now, and the weeds can wait. I'm thankful for a cooler summer, a mercifully cooler summer, and evenings when the girls can take turns getting pushed on the swing under the oak by their papa. My big girl is holding her brother and chatting with him as her sisters scream out with delight by how high they get pushed. Or my little girls presenting me with fistfuls of squished wild blackberries that they found growing in the creek, and how proud I am that they divided them up evenly for their sisters and papa to taste, instead of just stuffing it all into their mouths like they did last year. My favorite moment so far has been this lightning storm that we had a few weeks ago. My husband came in late for chores. I was a little bit worried about him because he usually gets in sooner than that. The baby was fussy because it was sticky, and so was I. And everything was really uncomfortable and warm and humid. And so he stepped inside of our room and asked if I wanted to come see the lightning. I got up with the fussy baby, and he went out to get the girls who were also wide awake because a couple of them are night owls, and since none of us were sleeping, we walked out into the dark of night, careful not to trip over the creeping overgrowth of our garden, and made our way to the cow pasture. My husband set each little girl on a hay bale in the middle of the pasture, and then he just told us to wait. It was dark and quiet, and nothing really was happening. And then all of a sudden there was this staccato strike of dozens upon dozens of lightning bolts shattering the sky all around us. and from our seat in the open cow pasture, we could see the silhouette of the hills on our horizon light up in front of a backdrop of that eerie ice blue or white yellow tinged with green that crackled all around us like some electric 4th of July firework display. The flashes were getting faster and faster, a strobe light with us in the very center, and the wind picked up around us, calming the baby and making the girls giggle nervously as it kind of whipped through their hair and plucked at their nightgowns. Between the lightning strikes, we sat silently in the dark until another brilliant flash would cause oohs and ahs and sometimes shrieks of surprise when a particularly bright one blazed across the sky. And then we'd be left in the dark again, the image of that light burned into the back of our eyelids and the rumbling thunder moving in towards us as we sat there on those hay bales. What a thrill, and what a moment to share as a family. When the staccato of light was right on top of the thunder, we walked back into the house, whipped by wind and the overgrown weeds that kind of lashed out at us, and went to sleep, watching the lightning continue flashing across the clouds from behind the safety of our bedroom window. That was my favorite moment of the summer so far. And I'll take each moment before and hereafter and try to glean what is good and beautiful out of them. Not just during this period of recovery, but hopefully through every stage of this life. Next year might be a bit more productive. Maybe not, you never know. But every season is a chance to grow and discover something wonderful. What's your favorite moment this season? Thank you for joining us on our podcast. We're always so happy that you stopped in to listen with us. If you have any questions or comments or want to share your favorite memory this summer, please leave a comment on our website at silvergoosefamilyfarm.com, or you can see what we're doing on a regular basis on our Instagram, same handle, Silver Goose Family Farm. Thank you again so much, and I hope to be able to share some more stories with you soon. Bye!